some land cover map.
И как раз таки мы разработаем карту.
Okay, so this is both programs. So that will be quite quick.
Это будет быстро.
And so first of all, I would like to show what we are developing in terms of monitoring about the transformations and evolutions of lake since the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Мы анализировали, да, мы провели мониторинг озер,
So, and we analyze in fact the extension and the regressions of lakes
расширение
and the levels of pollutions is what we are doing.
Фактор загрязнения также учитывался.
So here this is a pollution that is made with a lot of alga, no alga, and we develop in fact some kind of simple symbologies and to analyze the types of lakes.
Виды загрязнений озер.
We generate for all the central and equations in fact and the cartography of the evolutions and transformations of lake.
Мы рассмотрели эволюцию, трансформацию озер в Центральной Якутии в период с 1992 по 2007 год.
And you see the evolutions. And what is very interesting is on the 19 and at the beginning of the 2000s, the lake became less polluted.
И интересный факт, что в начале 2000-х некоторые озера стали менее загрязненными.
So this is the transformation and evolution of lakes, and still here. And for example, we have some example here of transformations.
Видите пример трансформации.
So in green, this is when we have polluted a lot of alga. In terms of types of blue, this is the mineral.
Зеленый это вот уровень загрязненности.
And the physical blue. Okay.
This is the blue is
This one is mineral, and this blue here is it's okay. It's just pollution. And here we can have in fact and the monitoring about the transformations of the lake.
Наглядная трансформация.
And to see the evolutions of the types of pollutions of lakes.
Эволюция типов загрязнения рек.
This is one of the use of the terms of the remote.
Это один из.
В данном случае в 1992 году было чище, потом в 2007 году уже загрязненная земля.
Can you say that it was less polluted in 1990?
Because according to the spectral analysis, so on the spectrum, so you have in fact and the full absorptions of energy. It means when it's polluted, okay, so you have and reflectance. When it's not polluted, all the electromagnetic spectrum is absorbed by water. Okay, then there is way and there is ratio, and you can see if it's polluted or not, and the types of pollutions.
So in 2007 it is polluted more.
And it's very interesting what's happening at the end of the Soviet Union. This is in terms of pollutions. And with the decrease of the activities, so the pollutions of the lake was very less. And it was starting after 2000. And what is very interesting, because from 2001 to 2007, so we have in fact the reactivations of the economy, and we observe in fact the increasing cycle pollutions.
Ну, одновременно с активизацией промышленности добычи мы видим, что и увеличивается уровень загрязнения.
No, what we observe.
То, что мы наблюдаем.
What we observe by remote.
Синие это не загрязненная земля.
Да.
Голубенькая.
So then we can see that here it's in fact the transformation. Yes, and here you have also then to understand with the measurement in some place we can detect in the lake and the different form where it's polluted and where it's not so polluted. But one more way.
Так, значит, вы видите, что this is that is pollution, level of pollution.
Yeah, then there are no pollution here. Here is polluted.
Ну, значит, вот здесь вот не загрязнено, здесь это загрязнено.
В данном случае поверхность воды может быть, да?
Yeah,
The surface.
because of the pollution. Yeah. Because of the pollution, it's not covering all the lake, but some part of the lake. It's the same for Alka. It's one of the way. So, and the second thing, so we work also about the first change in Yakutia.
Изменение лесов в Якутии. Вот второй объект нашего анализа.
Okay, it's about the transformations of the forest, and also about the decreasing of the agricultures.
Ну и спад сельхоздеятельности. в
And
целом.
we see that there are less and less
Мы видим, что менее
agricultures and parcels.
значит, люди увеличены сельское хозяйство, центральный район.
And what we are working to the south in the regions,
Да, мы вот хотели привести пример на юге Якутии.
and we decide in fact to see and to integrate in the knowledge of the event populations.
И хотели, значит, мы изучить территорию проживания
And we develop in fact the motorings and systems by seasons and by years, and we analyze in fact the transformations of the territory.
Здесь вы видите, значит, разрезы по годам, по временам года.
And here we have in fact a test zone
Это тестовая зона,
where then the event
где
gives them some information about it, and we integrate after in her models, and we develop some transformation about the evolutions of the psychospectral and signatures. And we can see the evolutions by years and by date, by spectral down and by date.
распределение по годам, по временам года.
And we can see then the transformations of the vegetation, is there some fire, no fire, and how and the vegetation and is transformed.
И, значит, уровень растительности, да?
And after we are going to see in France, but if you have a process of deforestations, if there are some mines, if there are some fire, is there are then some pollutions. Hello. Is there are then some pollutions and some other things. So
Вы можете отметить, мы можем отметить, что были
we
процессы
have this
дефорестации.
model, and we are going now then to understand which is the reason.
И это позволяет нам понять причины этих процессов.
So this is why then we need and some people there are and say that is why. The other things we make the modeling in 2-3Ds about the transformations of the land. So what is in the red? It was the fire. This is the Aldan River, okay?
Это река.
Okay,
да?
it's is the main place. With the names. The name of the town here.
Томат.
Да. Yeah.
Мужской нет.
Река Алдан.
This is the Aldan River. Okay.
Какой населенный пункт?
Усалдан, так.
Maps.
Есть Томот, есть город. Если
Ют-
какой район смотрим?
Yeah. You'd
Томот.
Какой?
I must have sent the map and local maps or
Карта Якутии.
Yeah, I need some maps to show you because here
Якутия.
you are in the main town with the airport. You have the airport. And is that around 12 hours to 15 hours by car from Yakutsk?
Ближе к Байкалу, на 12 часов до Байкала.
From Yakutsk,
From Yakutsk, more or less.
12 hours.
Yes, around.
Ну, какой там район? Там же река Алдан по нескольким районам идет.
This is the Aldan River. This is the Aldan River.
Прямо на реке Алдан
Где
Томот
река
стоит.
Алдан?
Там находится путь.
Есть маленькая карта А4. Реку.
Вот река Алдан. Вот идет Томот.
Устьмая, Эдика.
Yes, it's Ustmaya.
Устьмая.
It's here, yeah.
It's
Здесь камни, да. Ну, здесь мы.
this is in the zone where we make the first expression. So is where we're working, and here. So this is where you are on the file. Okay, then we detect on the file.
Fire?
File,
Forest fire.
yeah. Yes, file.
Пожары, значит.
And here this is in fact in the change and from the vegetation into the soil. This is the transformations
Трансформация
of
растительности.
the land cover.
Далее.
And here we have the analysis of the surface of the transformations of the land cover. Here there are no vegetations,
Больше растительности. Там.
and here we have the emergence of the vegetation, so the new place of vegetation.
Возникновение
And here is
местности,
the fact.
где с rастительностью, да?
So, and we have in fact the views and the temporal analysis of the transformations of that. What is very important for the event, because with renders, they are very interesting where they are on the file, because some months after that they are coming with the renders, and the renders they can be.
Ну, они же кочевники, да, и важен анализ, темпоральный, пространственный анализ растительности.
И для оленей говорили.
И для оленей, и для...
Yeah, and
For oranges,
yes.
Ну,
Yes,
и
yes,
падишь,
it's a range.
получается.
And most of the time. The other thing that we are using during the winter, this is to try to make the links between the type of snow. So we was on the land, huh? We were on the land, and we detect the different types of snow,
Различные типы
Cycle
снежного
landscape.
покрова.
and we're making the links after with here, then to detect this type of snow and this type of landscape.
Различные типы рельефов и снежных покровов.
And we're making this one, and with one event has sort of renders.
Ладушь.
Yes, and he's here, and we're working with him, and with my colleague from France. He's
Коллега из
also
Франции
good.
также принимал участие в данной экспедиции.
So they're working. So then we're doing that, and we trying to make some links. And on very important point, that is very interesting, the event understood these types of map. When I'm producing these types of map, they say we understand everything.
Когда
If
он
I'm showing this one, more or less, but this types of map,
Вот
they
такой тип
understood
карт, они
immediately
вот
what is
немедленно
it.
понимали, о чем идет речь.
And they are very interesting here on the Adan River about what in yellow, because in yellow this is the ice.
В желтом
The ice.
лед.
Ice.
Да.
The ice. And then from the ice, and they are very interesting, both the ice, waves and the ice. They are very interesting also about the qualities of the water, the temperature of the water. And also what is in blue, this is the fire.
Fire.
Fire, yeah. Yes. And they are very interesting, and what we see is in red, this is the level of vegetation, and the levels of the chlorophyll.
Уровень растительности.
Ну, плотные, смотри,
Зеленствие, плотность.
Yes, and for the renders, and to go, so to go, and we integrate also here rather than the 3D models, because they're interesting also than by the elevations. And when we are showing what we are doing us here, they don't understand them so
Они
well.
вот, например, это не понимают, эту карту.
We try to develop these types of mapping where they don't understand,
Они тоже типа.
and we have to develop these types of map.
Поэтому, собственно, вот третья карта.
The second things in French, but when to translate, we made the links between the remote sensing about the types of landscapes,
Типы ландшафтов.
and at least about what they need, what the event need. And we made some characteristic in physical geography and in biogeography.
Значит, здесь две классификации. Одна основана на физико-географических характеристиках, другая на...
And for example, they are very interesting about the types of the top of the mountain, then for crossing the renders.
Значит, различные типы поверхности горных местностей.
And with the types of vegetations and that that they want is they can go or not.
Тип растительности.
The types of vegetations.
Ага,
Okay, this is present on two.
растительности, да.
The second thing that is very important for them is to go from one valley to another valley, and if existing or not on some plateau.
Ну, для них важен, да, кочевнический принцип перехода от одного плато к другому.
Why? And also we strive, in fact, to develop and to analyze at the angle, because they are interesting and for hunting.
Интересно для охоты. Hunting?
Yes, hunting. And of course, and the altitude, that is
Высота.
very important.
Да.
And if the animals can go up. The second thing, this is the biogeography, and we made a very large biogeography
Большой
about
раздел.
than the land cover and forest. Is there are some pin, the types of soil,
Типы
because
почвы,
is there than some small river or not,
если маленькие реки или нет.
and because it's very important for the dog,
Док?
dog.
А,
Woof, woof. Okay, for the dog, and also the hunting and the zibeline.
значит, важно тоже для типа охоты, которые используют.
That is very important. And by this way, we developed also the types of forest, of melees, because it's very important for the hunter. And we can find also some pin of pine that we can eat. And we're developing, in fact, and the categorization about the landscape.
Категоризация.
And we detect, in fact, these types of landscapes on the satellite image.
Для категоризации важно соотносить теми изображениями, которые
Yes, and the
получаются.
types of forest and of a tree, because according to the tree, they have, in fact, then to use and to make some pipe for themselves and for the renders.
Ну, важно проводить такую классификацию.
Yeah, and this one is very important because sometimes there are some very big animals and they are quite afraid to protect the renders. Because they're making the categorization about the types of animal with a black blood or the red blood.
Ну, значит, они также производятся категоризация животного мира, которого
Because it's some
обитает
dangerous and for the renders.
при том или ином ландшафте, да?
And and we have in fact some types of forest, and by this way we are making some links. And by this way, and by remote sensing, and we are developing in fact and some method. In fact, and this method help in fact the event to make the analysis.
Ну, был пример, значит, метода, который использовался в данном случае с ОВНКами, да?
And is one of the applications that we are making in the south.
Значит, это вот a combination of topography, yeah?
Yes, of topographies and remote sensing.
Ну,
What
значит,
you're doing.
топографический метод использовался, метод
About
космической
biovegetations,
и индекс
about
биовегетации.
the water, because problems and the types of waters is very important. And we're making the links in between them
И
and
взаимосвязь
and
вот
the
этих
rest.
трех методов очень важна.
One of the applications that we are making. And by this way, we have capacities, in fact, and to analyze and the transformations of the land years after years.
И таким образом проходит ежегодный мониторинг. Ну, можно проследить трансформацию в зависимости от...
We had some problems 2 years ago, because one of my master students, by remote sensing, and she discovered some illegal mine.
Значит, один из студентов профессора по магистерской программе таким образом, используя такой метод, обнаружил нелегальные шахты, нелегальные Это будет общая промышленность.
Yeah, of course, because we are detecting and everything, you know.
То есть
We are no limits.
профессор, таким, используя свою методику, может все что угодно. Может видеть, наблюдать. То есть ничего не скроешь от Себастьяна Гадаля.
Сверху видно все, ты таки
Да,
знаешь.
сверху все
So it's
видно.
very dangerous jobs and sometimes in the south. So by the way, so it's one of the methods that we like kind of show you with bank, and now we are going to make some practice and how to generate some vegetation index.
Ну вот давайте мы сейчас практически попытаемся с вами разработать индекс вегетации. Рассмотреть.
Дмитрий, у меня поменялся ноутбук, который был с мышкой. Флешка от мышки была. Его вообще нет. А что там ноутбук?
А вот Любовь Александровна.
Хорошо, а тогда тут-то был, там же была флешка.
У вас же программа установлена. Так мальчик, наверное, флешку набрал.
Программы здесь нет.
А компьютер-то другой.
Ну вот Любовь Александровна. А, может быть, вот это?
Нет, нет.
Вот там еще одна страничка. Где?
Yeah?
Не, он там
Yeah, it's
постоянно.
exactly. You can use it. Yeah.
Можете,
Там
пожалуйста.
же у Моисея была флешка от мышки. Мышку-то он оставила, а ноутбук с флешкой, понятно?
Ну, ты можно другую передал?
Okay. So one of the point here, when we are working on both the vegetation and index, we are focusing about the use about two types of spectral band. The first spectral band that we are using, this is the near infrared, the band 5. Near infrared, band 5, the near infrared, and the red, band 4.
Значит, мы используем B4, B5.
This is with the Landsat A. If you want to use, for example, Landsat 7, if you want to use the Landsat 7, you have to use the band 4 and the band 3.
В зависимости от спутника, да, Landsat.
Because this is the red and this is the near infrared.
Значит, B3 красная будет, B4 синяя.
Okay? You don't look about the numbers of bands, you have to look about the spectrum and
Ну, вам надо
the spectrum
обращать
windows.
внимание на спектр в первую
Okay?
очередь.
All the time, in near infrared, red. This is the goal. This is only the goal.
Наша задача это обращать внимание на спектр.
And after we have some mathematical model, we have more than 10 mathematical models.
У нас 10 моделей.
What we have in fact and to
больше
test.
10.
So we are going in fact and to test now.
И мы можем протестировать эти, значит, показатели на разных моделях.
So we come
А
back
спектр
to
красный и еще какой?
The spectrum is
Ближний
red
экран.
and
no, is near infrared and red.
почти красный и ну,
Инфракрасный.
инфракрасный.
Ближний
Near infrared, near infrared,
инфракрасным.
near infrared. Okay. Okay, so you are going to image processing.
Вон ему он горит.
If you want to come here, no, don't come here. Then go here, go to the computer. Go. Don't stay here.
Вы на него убили.
Вот это нет.
I'm showing. You are going first of all to image processing,
Значит, на обработку изображения
transformation,
трансформация.
and veg index.
Индекс. Трансформация и веш индекс.
So we got all the lines here.
Пошла я
Oh my God.
Пошла я в эфире.
Трансформация и
It's okay?
веш индекс.
Yeah. And after you click on, and you have all your model of vegetation index.
Вот все модели индекса
So you
вегетации.
have plenty, yeah?
Очень много, да?
So the things, the simple this is the ratio, the most useful this is the NDVI.
Самый используемый это NDV.
So you entering your red band. The red band here this is the band.
Красную выбираете.
Which is the red band here?
Red band.
Which is the red band here? The red band is
B,
this is the band 4.
B4.
Be careful, because according to the satellite, we are not the same number of bands.
Значит, по спутнику не совпадает, да?
Band 4, and near infrared, band 5.
B5.
Okay, you putting NDVI,
Окей.
cinnamon calculus. You have a calculus. Okay, you can zoom in. And you have the result of the index of vegetation. More you are to the 1, more the vegetation and the level of chlorophyll is high.
One is higher.
Yes, higher in one.
Ближе к одному это вот
And 0, of course, this is the water.
0, соответственно, нет.
And you can play it after how we made this morning and to see some types of index. And to look.
Значит, качество изображения подгоняем. Да, контрастность.
And by the contrast, you can detract and to extract and not extract some data.
Ну вот под ваши нужды, да?
And to make some differentiation about the types of vegetation according to the index. You know, the to calculus is very easy. It's very easy.
Это простой метод.
And you can test, but I commend to you, is to test the different types of method
Вы можете протестировать другие методы.
and to look what is giving.
И посмотреть, что же получается.
Okay, then you're taking then 15 minutes
Вот на 15 минут я вам даю на практику.
and to test and to
Чтобы вы
analyze
могли
the
вот
result
потыкать и
and
различные
who are the interest or the non-interest of this model and comparing to another model.
и, соответственно, выработать для себя оптимальную модель математическую. Вы можете вот так вот, в принципе, это очень интересно, да, если вы применяете.
Some temporal analysis each month. So for example, from March, April, May, June, July, and you can see the evolutions. Exactly. Is one that the interest, and you generating then some database about the transformations. Another way. Another way you can to improve the new model of vegetation index when you are going, in fact, not to enter the band 5, but also to use the band 6 or 7. You will have some difference and result, and you can make the test with the band 6 and the band 7. Then we can make it to see the difference. For example, we entering here the band 6. Okay. Say 4, 6. The calculus is very fast. and you can compare the result, what we can have between the 6 or if you're using the 5, for example. There are some difference on what. And you see here, you have some difference of recognitions of some types of vegetations. And according to your subject, is over time the same way, according to the subject, you have to choose this model or this model.
This one is more utilized.
Exactly. This one is more centralized than this one. And this one is just then showing, in fact, and the landscape unit.
Yes.
Okay, the large landscape unique, and this one, the arrows on the detail.
Yes.
And according to your subject, you have to choose this one, or both. And if you're integrating, for example, the last one, this is the bound.
Can we integrate B4 with B6?
Absolutely. So B4 with B6 or B4 with B7. With B7 is the same. We have some different results. If you're integrating here the B7, for example, we can see the difference. And the difference is quite high. And the difference is quite high, but it's very interesting if you are working on the water. You want to make some transformations about the water, then to see what they are inside the water. So this mixing is very good for the water. The 4-6 is very good to analyze and to detect the large types of landscape.
Landscape.
Yes.
Для, значит, больших пространств для большого.
And the 4-5, yes, and the 4-5 is very good, in fact, to have and some details. So it depends after what you want to do for your research. It was like this morning, and how we made on second practice. We have to find the rights and combine. The second thing that it has some impact on the individual, this is the choice or your model, or your mathematical model.
Выбор вашей математической модели.
And is, for example, we take the TCV. For example, we can take TCV.
Если, например, вы эту модель выбираете.
CTVB. We are going to have some other types of results.
Посмотрим, что получится.
Okay, you have this one. Of course, you have to play the too much image. Model. Just looking with the windows. This one. This one. Just closing the windows because I have many windows. So when you are on this one, just looking with this one. You see that the difference is quite high. And you have in fact and to place, and you see here you have in fact and the detections about all the large place that is making the links and the difference between the linear rivers and the rest.
Вы можете видеть разницу между
So we have
Веной и
to place on the contrast, but
контрастность.
Высоту что имеет?
Low places.
You
yeah,
mean the high places or the low?
yeah. I'm just looking where is my windows because I don't find my windows. No. restarting. Transformations, we're back to realization index. Of course, the red band is all the time the same. This is band 4, and after you can choose a new band 5, for example, or band 6. And you can use, for example, these types of model and the TTV. Yeah. Okay. And on the TTV, this is the same way. You have in fact a lot of information according to the types of lake, and you have very good detections here of all the types of water.
Очень хорошая прорисовывается водная система, да?
Плохо, да?
TTVI.
Yeah, TTVI. And now then the objective that you have to make now, it will be in fact in practice is according to your subject is then to find the right and combine what we have and combine with bond 4,
У каждого из вас своя тема, да? И
the bond
согласно
5,
своей
6 or
теме.
7, and which types of model you have to use. In fact, then to detect a new object.
И согласно вашему интересу, значит, выбираете модель, выбираете спектр, да, и прорисовываете.
Okay, so then you can take them 10 minutes, and between all, then to try, in fact, then the model that you would like to apply.
Кто-то интересуется реками, кто-то озерами, тогда вот это вот модель подходит.
Yes.
Как можно считать площадь?
How can we measure the general space in meters?
Площадь русла.
Ah,
Это другое.
okay. It's each pixel, each pixel,
В пикселях.
it's 30 meter by 30 meters.
А,
Okay, then one pixel is 900 meter, is 900 square meter.
Где-то 9 километров.
Один пиксель.
Один пиксель.
Yes,
One
adding pixel, yes.
Pixel is 9.
100 square meter.
9 kilometers, да?
900 square meter.
9 kilometers.
Yes, 900.
900 километров.
Это кусочек
500 километров?
Да.
почему 100 километров?
109 километров.
900 километров.
900 meters.
Метр.
Meters.
30 by 30.
30 на 30.
Each
Один
pixel.
пиксель 30,
Один пиксель
30 метров.
да, is 30 meter by 30 meter.
30 на 30 метров.
30 на 30. Значит,
530 на 30, да?
Ah, and the surface is
500
900
квадратных
So, okay, so now we'll try between you and to find the right model that you would like and to apply. Okay, and for example, after, when you find some model where you are quite interesting, you have the possibilities to have made this model to combine the result.
И получится возможность комбинирования вашей получившейся модели, значит, с
You can combine the different types of result. And for example here, I would like to show you what I did. Just close it. Here, for example, I made the combine between 4 models.
И здесь вот вы видите комбинацию 4 моделей.
But not working. Open. So now it's up to you then to find the model and to combine them this model. Okay.
Вы можете, значит, выстроить модель и скомбинировать ее.
Okay. But one of the point. Okay, so then you can go. And let's go. can go with your colleagues to make some practice. No? But you cannot wait like that.
Видите, уже 4 формулы.
График его выходишь, да, Дима?
Выходит, да.
Мониторинговый.
Карта. Карта.
Вот, простые линии тогда видишь.
Вот. Дарья Николаевна физик, поэтому
Вот все понимают.
теоретический человек.
Or you take loose, of course. And you have, in fact, comparing to this morning, an excellent types of discrimination that is automatically made.
Вот что у меня
You
получилось.
see? Yes, huh? It's not bad, huh?
Неплохо.
Yakutsk, of course. Okay. After you can play here, as you know, to work on what the types of composition. Okay, now it's up to you. It's your job now.
Теперь ваша очередь. Что у вас получится?
If you are taking, for example, if I'm going back here, I'm taking, for example, this the model that I calculus here. Okay. This is your model. This is the result. So we can play on contrast, okay, to better contrast. The model is working from 0, this one, to +1. 1 is the maximum of index of vegetation that you can have. This is where you have in fact some vegetation with a high level of chlorophyll.
Ну, 1 ближе к 1 это самый высокий уровень хлорофилла, да?
Okay, and the level of chlorophyll is made by the species. Okay, so some species are more chlorophyll, some species are less chlorophyll.
The equation is in the mathematical models when they have to choose TTVI.
Okay, okay. Okay, then the choice. Okay. I understand. Okay, because I didn't understood. Okay, when you have your types of model here.
Вот типа растительности.
Yeah, understood. Okay, first of all, this is on the ratio. Then the ratio, this is on the divisions.
It's simple.
This is most and simple. Okay, then making the divisions.
Это разделение, да?
And you
Самое
divide.
простейшее.
And you divide and the bond and the red bond, the bond 4 by the bond 5, for example.
Одно на другое делите, и получается, что это индекс. Это просто формула.
Okay. When you are working with NDV, this is the ratio, but this ratio integrates some coefficient.
Это с интегрированный коэффициент, да? То же самое деление, но
And the choice of the model is depending on the territory.
модель, выбор конкретной модели зависит от территории.
But we don't know yet because according to the seasons, we don't have the same index of vegetation because the vegetation change. Okay, so we don't have the same levels of chlorophyll in May or in September.
От сезонный фактор имеет значение.
So this is why for each place and for each country, and where you're working, then you have in fact to find according to your subject and according to your place which model you have to use.
И это сугубо индивидуальный, да, процесс, выбор индекса.
Все эти
калькуляция.
Да.
And after, it depends what you want to see. If you want to have some precise things that you are using in the NVD, if you want to show, in fact, and the different types of landscapes and the landscape unit you are using in NRVI, and if you want them to focusing more about the water, then you are using the TTVI.
What?
Yes.
TTV, если вы больше на водных объектах фокусируетесь.
А вот весной, осенью какую модель выбирать?
And for example, in the spring, which model?
Какую летом, какую зимой?
In the spring, so then it depends on what you want to show. If you want to show only the vegetation, then you are using the NDV. If you want them to see the large unit, then you are using the NRVI.
Ну, значит, если вы хотите показать только растительность,
And if you want
вы используете NDVI.
but the NDV, which is the basic one, but is used by everybody.
Can they write this table down?
Есть, в смысле, методические указания к этим моделям?
Is there some manual?
Yes. And you have some manuals, and you have the manual here. Then you can go then to including the manual or the tutorial.
Вот учебники.
And on the tutorial, then you have all the explanation about the types of model. But in reality, all the model, they are working on the ratio. It's a ratio. Yeah.
Ну вот простое.
And after this is in mathematical way, they adopt then more than one coefficient to another than coefficient. But in reality, the
Ну вот,
result are
как
so
правило,
different.
как показывает практика, ну простое использование, простой коэффициент. Сильно не внедрять. Сильно сложные коэффициенты не
So when you're in here, okay, then you have in fact, and after you can develop. Yes, you have some exercise here, and you have everything here. If you are working on the arid place, and so you have many applications.
Видите, очень много областей применения при разных задачах.
But what I trying to explain that in this morning, we don't have one model that you can send to apply in the automatic way. You have all the time to adapt the new model.
Ну нет такой модели, которая автоматически бы вам все посчитала. Надо каждый раз.
Yes, and remote sensing, we are still not on the industrial approach, but on the artisanal, making approach, still now. Because it's very difficult in terms of physics and image processing, and because of the diversities of the geography, to develop one type of model. So me in image processing, I'm working about the development of method that we can apply in different places around the world. And when you are working by the spectrum, but the spectrum is not working. If you are working by the shape, by the morphology, by the geometry, it is working. But if you're working on the vegetation index, you are working on the spectrum. So you are not working on the morphology.
Мы поняли, да, что сочетание различных подходов. Иногда бывает, что только по спектру определяется, иногда по геоморфологии и так далее. Разное сочетание.
Yeah, because one from
Ну это вот он говорит, что в основном используется первое.
And after what is very important, at the end, when you have the different types of model,
Видите, вот первое самое.
you have to combine this model. Okay, because then you enlarge the information, and it is by this way what you can have after the result that we have now. Because here you have a very rich information about all this.
Очень много информации содержится, да? Поэтому невозможно все как бы под один шаблон.
And why we are doing this one is not for me, but it's for the people. They are not practicing the remote sensing. It's much better for them than to make analysis about this image than to be on this image. You know, in the term of visual way, so this one is more understandable. It's the one on the way, but we have to pay.
Нам надо учитывать особенности нашего предмета изучения при составлении, при вводе данных, при учитывании, ну, при контрасте, да. То есть это индивидуальная работа как искусство.
That is way after, so we are going into the field and we are going to analyze the types of species, of the trees and what they are. And this is not the field
Например, мы
trips.
можем видеть типы растительности, да.
This is why I say that the people they are not the model because it depends of the work of the research. Me, I'm working about the questions of the settlements, of the urban.
Он работает вот в области
Of the settlements,
урбанистики.
of the urban approach. So I'm developing my approach of the urbanization. Some colleagues are working more on the forest and some more on the agriculture. So they're developing the same method.
Коллеги, которые больше фокусируются на лесах, на деревьях, а так как моя специализация это как бы ближе к урбанистике, к урбанистическим исследованиям, к системе расселения, да, соответственно.
So, and we have in fact a specific approach and according to your subject.
И со временем вырабатывается такой подход, именно рука набивается, да, к формированию этих карт.
So, for example, this morning then we make an applications where the teachers here they make some applications about some that they work about Yakuts and some that they work about some subject and we didn't use the same spectral band and we didn't use in fact they use the same mathematical model but they didn't make the same combined because for each thematic there are some different and
И сейчас важно просто понять, что индивидуальный подход при формировании, при использовании данного инструментария.
Because then satellite image and taking the image and it's you according to your specialty that you're going to develop some approach or some model.
Все зависит, как говорится, от вашей специализации и что вы хотите увидеть или что хотите подчеркнуть на этом пространстве.
This is why if you want to understand that we have to practice.
Нам надо много практики, чтобы...
Okay, so we can develop a lot of beautiful and theories about remote sensing is what I'm doing, but if you want that people understand and have the home control about the information, they have to practice. Only by the practice
Единственное,
that you can understand.
это вот не теоретическое, да.
It's like driving. So me, I'm seeing that in GIS and in remote sensing and in spatial analysis, in modeling, you have to practice. You have to drive. If you're not driving,
Это как навык вождения, да.
you have to drive, and you cannot.
С практикой только.
This is the only way, and that we have. And this is why I'm for the active practice, and especially in GIS and in remote sensing, because the people have to drive and have to be some confront to the realities of the processing.
И поэтому я придерживаюсь такого подхода активного обучения, от практикоориентированного.
This is the only way that the people they can. Then of course it's not in one day or in some hours.
Это, конечно, невозможно.
It permits them to enter inside.
За
And
несколько
after,
часов.
at home, when you understand, so you can practice as you want.
И когда у вас уже возникает понимание этого и некий навык, да, то вы можете свободно ориентироваться.
For example, in my lectures in France, so the students they are 3 hours for lectures with me, and each week at home they have to work at minimum 12 hours.
Вот мои студенты вот, занимаются примерно 12 часов практикой уделяют. Да?
So it was.
12 часов в неделю.
Да.
It was for Madame because Madame she's doing develops and monitoring the system, and she was doing the question for the index completion. And you have some more questions?
У вас были вопросы, Ольга?
And you have some questions, Olga?
Ольга Юрьевна?
No? It's okay? Can you see how it's working? And, for the validation index.
Ну, у вас был какой-то вопрос?
У меня там были вопросы, как конкретно оценить индекс вегетации в конкретной точке.
He is asking how to know
Программа позволяет
index of vegetation of one local territory.
количественно.
Quantity
Of snow.
Yes.
But it's not.
Snow density maybe.
Okay, then just.
Плотный снег.
Вегетация или снег?
Нет, вегетация. Мы же
А,
говорим,
no.
вегетацию сейчас
Vegetation.
Да, да, понятно.
Yeah. Okay. So it's in fact we have in this is the same things that we talked in this morning. For example, if we're taking then this result here, we can change. You are going then to take this one. You click something here, then you have in fact 0.73. The maximum is
Там
1.
показывает.
Yeah, and this is the measurement. You on the field, you have in fact to calculate at what is it corresponding, and after you have in fact
Он
all
наводит мышку, и она показывает.
Идет расчет.
it's simple. It's very simple.
Значит, чем ближе к одному, значит, тем больше.
Понятно. Это нет, от одного до одного.
And that's all. And you have in fact the waves, and you must have in fact then the coordinate. You have to know that in remote sensing we have in fact, you can be in France, in Russia, everywhere in the world we are using the American system.
Мы используем американский подход.
UTM. And all the satellite images are in UTM.
И все изображения, соответственно, в этом формате.
And it's not a problem because if you are taking your smartphone, okay, so on your smartphone then you have the GPS. So you can download for free some GPS.
Вы же можете установить в своем телефоне GPS.
So we have a mini GPS, French, Russian, American, going on, and you can choose what you want to work in latitude or in longitude or in UTM.
И, соответственно, вы можете выбирать формат, да? UTM.
And you are making immediately some links because look at here. Here is showing you here two types of information.
Два типа информации.
The column, because so remember this is the matrix. This is the image. This is the matrix of number.
Матрица числовая, да?
Think of numbers and remember. Okay, this is the matrix. So for example, if we are going, if we come back to lectures. If we come back to the lecture, it's here. Here, this is your satellite image. Okay, this is the matrix. This matrix have a line and the column. So the column and the line.
Линии.
Okay, and the column and the line, each column, each line, then is corresponding then to 1 pixel.
Каждая колонка, ну, или ячейка, да, соответствует пикселю.
And here is giving you, which we come back, for example, here, is giving you the column
Вот колонки, ну вот.
And the line.
Да, и вертикально.
Столбик.
Столбик, да.
Столбцы и линии.
Ну, это координаты получается.
and the coordinate, they are here.
Вот координаты.
But this is here the coordinate on the American system, UTM.
По американской системе.
Because all the remote sensing on the road is working in the American system.
Все по американским, как говорится, стандартам.
This is the standard. And here you have the coordinate on the American system. Why? Because of the American want to have in fact the global views about what's happening around the world, and they impose them exactly then and this one. And after you can't automatically also to convert in latitude and in longitude according to your system. It's called coordinate.
Вот в принципе тут все логично и как бы очень четко.
Is various ways, but you can make the links but you know, then the GPS, and everybody has the GPS with the
У
smartphone.
всех есть сенсор GPS, поэтому знаете, да, представляете?
И поэтому, получается, можно задать координаты, а программа нам выдаст NDV. Да?
Some of your questions?
Еще вопросы?
Матрицу откуда брать?
Question?
Матрица это именно цель испытания брать.
Координаты или что?
Эти числа. Где крестик?
No.
Here. Мы сдаем координаты.
How do you apply this?
Автоматически. Это же единое
You click
приветствие.
here on here.
Просто нажимаете.
Here on the cursor. Here, you see?
На курсор.
Yeah, on the cursor.
А это спутник французский, да?
Спутник, are the satellites French or American? should I ask you?
Here, now?
Landsat is
It's American.
американский.
It's American, and what I explained in this morning.
А это самое, с какого времени есть эти архив же данных, наверное, есть? Он сейчас в реальном времени еще летает, да?
Is when the Landsat was launched and
Okay, the Landsat was the first program that was made around the world. The first satellite was sent in 1973.
с 1973 года первая как бы,
And now they have in fact and the covering of the world about since the beginning of the 70s until now.
до 70-х до наших дней есть базы данных. Да.
The French starting in 1986,
Французы начали программу в 1976.
and after you have all the Russian program and the Cosmos. And the Cosmos, but the Cosmos is in analogic, and you have in fact to scan and photographies, and it starts from the 60s until now.
Ну и вообще связано с развитием космической отрасли, да? И мониторинг уже идет примерно с того
But
времени.
it's very complicated to have this data because with Rob Cosmos it's very quite tricky, and the good news. The good news is good news that Putin made now is going to impose on the 1st of January the free access about all the geographic data of Russia.
Путин?
He signed the decree.
Владимир Владимирович Путин подписал указ.
Rob Cosmos now have to give for free the data. I don't know if he
В
will do,
свободном доступе к геоданным.
but they don't want. They don't want. They say we refused because business is business, and corruption is corruption. But the presidential decree was signed with a limitation about the spatial resolutions at 1 meter by 1 meter.
Есть, конечно, ограничения по разрешению.
But normally you are here in the federal university. Normally, the federal authorities have to give you for free the database.
Федеральные,
But I still don't know how it will work. In France, and we have one office from the IGN, and we're going there, and we sign an agreement, and we have access. In America, they're controlling them by the NASA. And in Russia, so I don't know what to do, but look after that, because normally they have to give you some special information for free. And the Russian paid a lot than the American companies, covering all the surface of Russia.
Ну и сейчас в свое время и русские, получается, ну россияне платили, Россия платила.
You have to understand for the American enterprise, The first market, this is the military for US Army, and the second, this is on the Russian market.
Первый, значит, потребитель это значит военные цели, да, и соответственно второй это
So you're
Россия.
giving and billions and to the Bush and the dictionaries and family.
Что обогащает семью Буша.
Because on Digital Globe, it's a company from the Bush and dictionary family.
Это компания и принадлежит его семье, да.
Okay. So I don't know the terms of application, but I think that you have to look.
Ну, надо просмотреть условия использования, ограничения и права.
But I
А
think
какой
that
доступ в федеральных университетах? Что сказал?
Ну вот
Не, он
логично,
знает.
наверное, что это будет да, доступ.
Что просто тоже мы должны заявительным порядком, по идее,
Да.
пользоваться. То есть надо писать заявление, получать доступ.
and that's the way. But is some more questions?
Зачем это надо?
Еще вопросы?
55 тысяч
Можно как узнать, я хочу, например, не одной точки, а целой площади, среднюю этот индекс показателей, может и рассчитать площадь.
How can she know the index for some square? For
Yeah.
example, the median meaning, for example, for this part.
It's simple. It's simple and complicated in the sense. You have to extract this part.
Выделить.
You have to, or what we are doing now is to do soon. We are going in fact and to develop some method to extract in fact in this object and this object and this object and this object and have the numbers of pixels and the square meters and you have in fact the surface.
Да, есть техника вот извлечения некоторых объектов.
But it's simple. If you want
Проблема?
to do this one, then you're making the extractions. And you're going here to reformat. For example, you're going here to reformat and to format and you make some windows and you extract and the zone that you want. And you're entering, for example, going here. You're entering then your satellite image and you're giving, in fact, and the numbers of lines and columns.
Количество колонок и этих,
Numbers of lines and
которые хотите выделить. Линии.
then you extract it and you calculate. So the second way is that we are going to do now is in fact to generate some land cover map. Okay?
Ну, и можете вот выделить отдельные части или импортировать полностью.
But it's taking time, but we are going to see that because I think that will be one of the ways that we'll use in one day is to generate some land cover maps.
Мы можем генерировать какие-то карты.
Or if you want to extract only than this one, what we are doing is so we name it in fact and the segmentations in the visual ways, and you want them to decide where is it, and you extract all this information.
То есть понятно, что можете выделить и извлечь то, что вам надо, а потом посчитать.
And another way that is happening, we have also some system that is making the vectorizations about the result. And we
Visualization.
the vectorization.
Векторизация.
And you are in JS and in JS and you are on the surface.
Некоторые поверхности.
Another way. So then to finish and before them to open the discussions about the project of network of observatory, I would like to show you the last method that many people they are using is how them to generate some land cover map.
Long cover map,
Yeah.
это, Николай Ильич, полномасштабные карты, да? Полномасштаб. Ну, прежде чем приступить вот, заключительно, да, наша же задача в том, чтобы создать некую исследовательскую сеть, партнерскую. И хочу показать один пример.
Okay, so we are coming to image processing to hard classifier, and hard classifier to cluster.
Переходим на класс. Выбираем класс.
I'm going to show you and after I will explain you the method. here you are going to enter your first 7 spectral bands.
Будете первые 7 спектров.
From the band 1 until the band
B1, B2.
until the band 7. X, longer, and 7. You're giving the names, so we can make a test. Cluster 1, for example.
Называйте.
Because we're having, and in the same way here, in your model you have 2 types of model. The generalization is broad or thin. If you want something that is precise, or if you want to take impact on some large unit.
Ну, значит, выбираете видимо, размер изображения.
And after,
Затем
you have to find the types of groups of model that you want. You have the drops, the numbers of clusters. I say me, I would like to have 40, 50 classes.
установите максимальное количество кластеров, категорий.
Or you say, I want to have all the categories that is existing.
Или наоборот, без кластеризации.
So we can start by the last one.
Можем последнего начать.
You send the calculus. You are going to take your coffee. So you have to understand that these types of processing, when I start to make it on the middle of 90, it's taking 3-4 hours.
4 hours.
4
Yeah.
часа где-то.
And now, look at it. I can give them lecture on. It's taking 3-4 minutes at maximum.
3-4 минуты.
So during this time, we can take the coffees, or we can go on the mails, or to chat. So.
Меняют места.
Ну, можете, в принципе, сейчас уже неформально так, водички выпить.
So it's very quick, you know, 2-3 minutes maximum. And you have your result here. And it's classified, all your categories of objects are classified. And it detects almost 131 categories of objects. One we have now than this one. The question that you have now is to make the links with what is it, what it is. And you have to work on the field. And you have also to develop what we name the color, the color palette. On the color palette, you have to give some other types of colors. You are going here, symbol workshop. Symbol workshop, you make open palette. Choose, for example, the palette. I don't know, you choose, for example, all the time we are taking the easy. Say OK. You save this palette, and you say this is cluster 1. Okay.
Сохраняете и называете, да, соответственно, этот кластер.
And your work now is to give, in fact, in information for each one. Here you see that this is the code 7.
Это вот код 7.
And the code 7, you're going here, and you're going, in fact, to give them the color in blue.
Вы можете, в принципе, поменять цвет.
And by this way, you are generating, in fact, the new mapping. Okay, like that. For example, when you click here, for example, if you want to see the colors and 7, you back here to answer you. And here, you are on the 7. And the 7, this is all the water.
Вы можете выделять, в принципе, кластеры, которые хотите увидеть.
And on this way, you have, in fact, all the numbers of a square meter for the clusters and 7. Want to know what is this one, and you're doing this and this one, and you know which types of soil, of surface it is.
Это вот позволяет как раз установить и тип почвы, тип поверхности.
And you understand very quickly that in reality, at the beginning, after 44, the numbers of clusters are very little. So what you are doing minutes of time for determining the number of clusters that we need, we are going to image processing, hard classifier, and isoclust.
Ну вот, выбираете эту функцию.
Сейчас он построит.
Yeah, you're entering the different spectral band.
Выведем наши спектры.
3, 4, for example, 5.
Сейчас получим более упорядоченное разнообразие, да, как говорится.
And 7. Okay, he calculus, you are taking your coffee.
Обсчитывай.
Yeah, then you have to wait. And this is why when we calculate some very large surface and we need some very powerful computer. Because here is for one image, but when you are calculus me, I am working on the next generations. Next generation, each satellite image is 20 gigabyte.
Ну вот, нужны мощные компьютеры. Некоторые вот иногда на 20 гигабайт тянут.
So you imagine the types of computer that we need.
Ну вот только вот одно изображение у нас занимает, да, такое время. Когда идет работа с большими объемами данных.
Да, то есть проводится первая итерация вот этих самовыделенных кластеров.
Exactly. So, but the method of clustering is exactly the same method that you're using, in fact, in statistics. Okay.
Метод
Yes.
статистики.
C4 and some background. Okay. And here you have the result. And the result is show the numbers of clusters. And you saw that you have in maximum 10 clusters, and the rest of the cluster are non-significant.
Ну вот 10 кластеров.
So then maybe you can take the maximum 15 clusters or 17.
Ну можно 17, 16-17 выделить. Остальные уже статистически не
And to answer you, then for example, and you see here that you have the numbers of pixels. And by the numbers of pixels, you can send to calculus then the surface.
То есть там сразу количество пикселей, да, стоит?
Да.
Yeah,
То
this
есть
is the
можно
numbers
сразу
of pixels.
Вот высвечивается.
This is the numbers of pixels, and by the numbers of pixels, you come to calculus then the surface. It's really easy.
Очень легко получается.
I know. So everybody can do that.
Пиксель это вертикальная шкала.
So here we can see that then 17.
Нет, вот там вот уже высвечивается.
We back
На выпуск этот кластер.
to the cluster.
Возвращаемся к кластерам, да?
And you say, I want a maximum of, for example, and 20 classes.
Например, вводим значение 20 кластеров.
Okay, and you say clusters and 20 for 20 classes. And we are checking the copy. You know, I like image processing because we can take a lot of copies.
Можете отдыхать в это время, разговаривать. Кофе, пожалуйста, чай.
Понятно.
So you can to send them to make the calculus now is thank you more. Processing. And after what we are doing, when we have the steps of result, if we don't know what it did, then we're going on the filtering. Okay, then and to analyze and what it did exactly. Or we can to combine in JS with some of our types of database.
Ну да, и в принципе, если не совсем понятно, да, результаты, которые вы выясняете для такого
Or combine in JS or
получается, что нужно смотреть либо стат данные, либо выезжать на полевые исследования. То есть нужно изучать,
and you're out on the result
комбинировать.
with your 20 classes.
Кластера.
You are going on. The difference are not so high. Can you see on this result you're making the difference between different types of waters on the linear river?
Различные типы водных ресурсов.
Это то, что у Екатерины Михайловны было, да?
So here you have extractions of a town.
Город.
Yes, and it's right.
Да.
And here you are going to come back here. It's bug. Yeah, it's bugging now. I'm sorry, but this is the end of the days. It's starting to bug. Hello. Because you're going back here. You're opening your palette. You want quad. Here, back. Immediately you say save as and you give them the names of your cluster, clusters and 20.
Называете свой кластер.
And you are starting in interactive with, and you take the cursor, you're going here. Here this is the clusters and 7. 7 is this one, this is the water, I'm putting in blue.
Значит,
Here is the types.
цвет, да? 7 это вода, значит.
It's the types of waters
синий
on
цвет.
15. Hop, I'm going on 15. 15 is here. And I give some types of water, for example, than this one. Here this is the sand. Sand is in 12.
Ну, песок
You
12.
can put in white, for example, or in on yellow.
Синенькая вода.
Нет, ставр.
You save.
Переназначать цвета просто сейчас.
And for example, you are going here and you give them the names of the palette, cluster 20. Apply, and you have
Вот
it.
теперь уже более
Да.
реально
Ближе к
становится,
реальности
да.
уже.
And you create the new systems and like that. Okay, and by this way you have the capability, in fact, to generate and the mapping about all your territory. And you see here it's Yakutsk.
Вот же Якутск.
Yakutsk, and you have also some town around. Good, some place around. So that's the work what you have in fact to do, and how we can to generate some spatial database on the territory, to monitoring the territory.
Вот как происходит пространственный анализ территории.
One more way that I can to show you, and what you saw, the methods are not so complicated now.
Ну, как видите, вот это не так сложно, да, как кажется.
And more than people they will have access soon to these
Все
types
больше и больше людей получают доступ к таким ресурсам. Упрощается. Но может быть,
6, for example, 6, this is the sun, you can put in white. Save. All the way. And here you see that you have some very specific types of lake with specifics and colors. because they are not polluted.
Ну, можно, в принципе, и водные ресурсы, озера, например, выделять разными
Put
цветами
other types
по
of
уровню.
colors and to show what is it, I don't know. This one, for example. Make save. You come back here. And this way you are building, in fact, the new model. More understandable. So, this is what I would like to show you, to give you an introduction about the use in fact of remote sensing,
Показана
of
основа.
monitoring of the settlement, the monitoring of the environment. This method now are quite used, The question is quite strange because around the world now we have a lot of Earth observations and satellite. The information is more or less free in free access, and we are missing the variety of applications.
Информация становится доступной, и у вас есть инструмент для анализа населенных пунктов, для пространственного анализа.
So here we have a difference in the data. And the game now they need to develop, in fact, and the numbers of large users, but they can in fact to use and to satellite imagery, because more and more of information will be free.
Информация бесплатна, доступна.
And is one of the most important things. So what I would like to do now, if there are no questions, it will be to discuss about the project of network of observatories.
Если нет вопросов, то давайте перейдем к вопросам создания сети мониторинговой.
По сути, такая распределенная лаборатория, да, вот, пользуясь французским термином, обсерваторию можно использовать.
Yeah, because I have the right to explain you which is my conceptual way. We are now on the conjunctions of different things that are coming in the same times. We have more and more the free access to the satellite imagery. Second way, the method of calculus that we're taking a lot of time and before now are very quick. Last, we have also then the territorial integration by the internet, by the transformation, by the mobilities. And at last, then the people are more and more interesting to focus about the environment and to see the transformations and evolutions about this environment. And my way was, why not to combine all these four aspects, plus, for example, the e-learning, which has some capabilities, and to develop some lectures in e-learning for the civics and society, but also for the school. Because then the children, so teenagers, like it, because it's really practice, it's practical. According to that, you can to develop a lot of types of lectures about question of environment, about the question about the mathematics. Because if you have some teachers in mathematics, they come to give them some lectures about which types of mathematical and models are used, and the teenagers and the students are interesting by that because it's practical. And if they are working about the land that they knew, they are immediately in the appropriations. The second way is all of us, we are academic and researchers. We are not rich. The network, the research and the universities are quite poor. And we have to find some new ideas to develop for us, some point and some place of observation.
Ну вот, во-первых, технологии стали доступны, и изображения спутниковые, и границы открываются, информация становится более доступной. И все это мы можем сделать в пользу нашей сети создание некой мониторинговой точки, в которой соприкасаются, значит, наши университеты, наши школы, учителя, население.
Ну, еще не более...
And my idea, yeah. And my idea is unusual, interesting, and is by the school, in fact, to develop some observatory, where some teachers and colleagues, some teachers come to develop their home system of observations, and by this way we can to collect all these types of information, and we can cover some more large place, and the cost is nothing. The cost is nothing, because when I see that some colleagues in climatology, they're giving 10 billion, so billions of euros, and they are putting on the stations. Half part of the station they never work.
И в принципе эта система могла бы...
And here we come to cover, in fact, on the part of the territory, and as you know, the Yakutia, for many scientists, is a very important point in terms of climate change. Because the climate change in Yakutia has a big impact after for the rest of the climatic cells. And this way it will be very interesting to have these types of observatory and on the school, on the teachers, and to collect each 6 months or 6 years or each year the data and the information, and we can have not the first year, but years after years, in fact, and the collections. The next step, and I saw that not only in France, but all around the world. And my colleague from Japan, my colleague from Scandinavia, we arriving actually in science at the theoretical limits. We arrive at the end of the system. And I saw that everybody now need to have some new and some fresh observations, to develop some new ideas, some new concepts. And I think that the development of this type of circumstantial work is participating also in the building of these types of observations. And by the way, we can combine science, educations, and the implication of the society.
Каким образом произошло бы слияние университетской науки,
For us, it permits to have some observatory,
учителей и местного населения. Да,
it was my idea. We have to discuss about this idea, but probably you have some other point of view. You say maybe you can do that, but
это как бы взаимовыгодное сотрудничество, направленное и для общества, и для науки, да?
And
Для образования.
Is what I can because the cost is very little.
Ну и, соответственно, стоимость таких исследований снижается.
Наоборот.
Значимость возрастает.
Значимость, да.
Ну, потому что не нужно вот преодолевать большие расстояния, устанавливать оборудование.
Да, Николай, немножко надо по МСУ тогда сказать. Молодежный институт университета сразу. Мы же оттуда начинали обсуждать.
Я потом
Сейчас уже можно, он уже сейчас приглашает общаться.
ну да. Ну ладно, тогда я с места, наверное.
Да, давайте, пожалуйста.
Уважаемые коллеги, ну вот удивительно, вообще говоря, хорошая программа, да, вот нам как бы это прямо на место прошла, да. А вообще это самое, мы на этот проект вышли из-за того, что вот кафедра североведения, где вот мы собрались, значит, да, у нас в рамках программы развития СВФУ был маленький проект. Ну, он такой маленький в плане финансового, значит, да, малобюджетный, но идея была такая, да, что вообще бы хорошо, да, развернуть какие-то исследования, включая вот школьный сектор, значит, циркумполярно, мы же северяне, вот циркумполярное, значит, кольцо наше, да, включая там Аляску и вот Канаду и так далее, значит, да, сеточку сделать, чтобы это на местах люди начали вот работать, да, обследуя, исследуя. географические какие-то вещи, исследуя там, значит, ну, вот, природные какие-то явления. Ну, действительно, вот же сложно же было раньше, да, надо там какое-то оборудование, значит, покупать и так далее, да. А сейчас вот видите, какая пришла возможность. Нам предоставляет прямо вот просто удивительное, значит, по глубине, по разработанности, детализации, сколько тут это объем этой информации, это просто непонятно, какая там глубина даже, да. И можем, сидя, значит, на своих местах, зная там методику, методологию, да, обработки, и владея вот методикой уже разработанной, и собраться вот сеточку, значит, сеточка, да, там это Черский, там Амга, вот Центральная Якутия, там Оленёк и так далее, да, начинать работать и посмотреть вообще картина, какая картина складывается после популярному кольцу, арктическая зона. Вот такая возможность к нам пришла. И, в принципе, вот это проект, который мы разрабатываем, называется «Молодежно-сетевой университетная Арктика». И у нас там, ну, такие другие работы уже были. И в рамках того проекта вот эта работа, ну, ложится вообще как на кальку, вот один к одному, да. Вот наша идея создать сетку точек, где по единому методологии какие-то вот научные и исследовательские мониторинговые работы ведутся. И у нас это самое, в конечном итоге получится, вообще говоря, очень красивая, развернутая географически картина, с которой можно смело выходить, наверное, на разные уровни, значит, ну, международных конференций и прочее. Школьникам очень интересно было бы, как стартовая площадка, да, начинать такую работу. Ну и студентам везде у нас это, у кого как, ну, студенты глубже пойдут, аспиранты могут заниматься тут. И вот. Поэтому вот точка соприкосновения, и, например, мы очень рады, что вот с профессором Гадалем, да, вот это, как бы, нашли как бы общую точку интереса. И вот сидим заинтересованные в развертывании таких вот такой коллектив, да, спасибо. Ну, я надеюсь, что у нас эта работа пойдет, и мы будем, ну, может быть, первыми ласточками, да, когда эта школа включится в вот такую работу, и получится хорошая по республике Саха-Якутия, наверное, сначала начнем, потом, видите же, тут же нет уже преград ни политических, ни этих государственных, да, такие же работы, наверное, у нас начнутся там уже за предельные от республики Саха-Якутия работы развернемся, выйдем на российский, значит, уровень, потом, значит, уже международный, вообще никаких препятствий на самом деле. Если это самое там, выйдем на связь Аляска, Канада, да, скандинавские страны, там он упоминал, да, вроде бы там это тоже вовлечено в какой-то мере, да, что-то работает. Так же, да?
Yeah, because the progress in Canada, they will be very interesting to develop this types of approach. And I think that the Canadians are very interesting.
Я думаю, что канадцы в этом очень заинтересованы тоже.
Надо выходить и уже как бы связи устанавливать. Правильно же? Спасибо.
Я еще хочу добавить следующее, что вот эта программа и наше участие в этой программе, участие школьников в этой программе, оно позволит развивать инновационное и техническое мышление школьников. Оно позволит показать другие формы работы по изучению окружающей среды в рамках сетевых проектов. На мой взгляд, на сегодняшний день можно было бы создать такую вот сеть школьного мониторинга. Она может быть и в пределах Якутии, она может быть в пределах полярного мира, да? Она может быть между отдельными странами, которая будет понятна и полезна для взрослых, для населения и для школьников, использоваться в образовательном процессе. Это климатические характеристики, там, температура, влажность, да, одновременно смотреть. Это фенология, да, Потому что в каждой точке в свое время наступит зима, весна, лето и осень. Мы могли бы делать такую картинку одномоментную, когда во Франции еще весна, а у нас в это же время уже почти осень по температурным характеристикам. То есть вот это будет иметь очень большой образовательный смысл. Кроме научного, это еще очень большой образовательный смысл. И вот то, что у нас в нашем районе накоплен опыт мониторинговых исследований со школьниками, да, мы с удовольствием подключимся к вашей программе, вот к программе сетевого университета «Арктика».
And some of our colleagues here and would like to participate or not. There are any obligations?
Да, ну, он говорит, на ваш выбор. Другие коллеги в какой форме готовы сотрудничать, это на ваш выбор.
Any obligation at all?
Да, это вообще выбор, в принципе, каждого. Ну, and of course we can use an experience for making short exercises
And I think
and just go
the
using.
case of Olga is one of the key aspects because she already work on and we are always on the strong basis with the work that Olga made. And Olga can be the key drivers in fact for the test.
И вот Ольга Юрьевна у нас может стать локомотивом данного движения. Ну, в смысле, вот идейным вот
Мы согласны быть пилотной
площадкой. They can be a basis.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that is parameters that to test, that to see what is good, what is wrong, what is the types of problems and
Laboratory.
of test laboratory.
Тестовая
And
лаборатория.
after we can to expand. But now that my question is because I'm very practical in the same ways is how we can to make, to plan and to do it in a practical way.
Ну и надо выходить на практическую плоскость.
So we have to discuss on Fridays, of course, but maybe we can have some ideas.
Вот эти идеи, разговоры надо вот притворять.
Because we are in the winter we have to prepare the materials, and when the summer is coming,
Зимой мы готовим материалы, например, наступает лето, наступит лето, осень, зима.
And for March, I will have one of my master students. He will come here, and he's specialized in remote sensing. And
Как раз мой студент по магистерской программе сюда приедет.
For March.
Март
We
приедет.
don't know exactly. So they will come with him in March.
Он мог бы также выступить